Hey everybody, welcome back for another magical movie review. It's your girl, Magic Molly, Magic X Molly, Magic by Molly. I don't know, I'm having an identity crisis. It's fine. Quarantine is doing real good for me. I'm switching locations. This new series of magical movie review I am super excited about. We're gonna be watching the Harry Potter movies together. I love these movies so much. I grew up reading the books. I went to midnight premieres when that was actually still a thing, like actual midnight premieres instead of like 7 o'clock on a Thursday. And Harry Potter movies I watch when I'm sick, when I'm hungover and just need something on, when I need something to help me relax and maybe take a nap. Like, it's one of my go-to, like, feel-good, for me personally, movies. It's not, I wouldn't consider them like feel-good movies or anything like that. I'm also gonna change up how we do magical movie reviews. Just trying something a little different. I'm still doing streaming Sundays where I watch the film on a Sunday. Those are good days for me, like to relax, mentally prepare for the work week coming up, but to give myself some grace and some time to like get everything figured out. I'm still gonna watch the movies, get everything together, but I'm gonna put out my reviews, my magical movie reviews on Magical Mondays for this series of Harry Potter films. For those of you who did watch my Disney Princess series and you saw those on streaming Sundays, and if that worked for you, we can always go back. I'm just trying something new just to keep things fresh, especially during the quarantine. Never hurts to do a little trial and error, right? We'll see how it goes. Also, as you can see, I've got some of my Harry Potter travel posters. This is my Harry Potter room. My home office slash super simple guest room is this room we're in right now. I'll try to highlight some different things for every video that I do, and maybe one day we'll do just a home office tour so you guys can see all of it together. I'm also wearing one of my favorite park shirts that I wear. It's Hogwarts Rocks, Schoolhouse Rock, my jams growing up. As you can tell, like, I'm just already super excited about this. The way that we're gonna break things down for this series, we're gonna keep it really simple. We're gonna do a magical recap, then we're gonna do magical moments, things that I really enjoyed about the movie or things that kind of like gave me goosebumps or heart feels, whatever you want to call those. Enchanting efforts, which will be things that kind of just like left big question marks for me, or things that didn't really quite make sense as far as movies go. I'll pick a VMP, or a very magical person, somebody that won me over for the film. And then we'll end it with my ranking of the Harry Potter films in order of just how much I like them. If you watched the Disney Princess series, the last segment, so after the movie rankings, I would do a nerd alert. If we got real nerdy with it, with Harry Potter, for the Sorcerer's Stone or the Philosopher's Stone, we could be here for hours. So I'm just sticking to the movie this time. I'm not really doing any kind of origin story stuff, but I am thinking about doing a magical, maybe book review or Wizarding World review, or kind of deep dive. So if that's something that you're interested in, let me know in the comments below, and I'll plan something out for you guys so that we can dive into that, because any of the other Potterheads out there, especially if you have just even kind of dabbled in Pottermore, you know that there is so much information out there besides just even the movie and the books that JK has put out for us. So we'll start with the magical recap. Now, this is where I try to bring you the synopsis of the movie as quickly as I can. No, I did not practice this beforehand, so this will be interesting. Boy named Harry gets left on a doorstep of his aunt's house. They treat him like shit, but 11 years later he finds out he's a wizard. Goes to Hogwarts for all his wizard learning. Finds out Voldemort killed his parents. Funky things start happening in the castle. Harry accidentally finds a three-headed dog guarding a door. through some detective skills from him and his friends, they find out it's the Sorcerer's Stone he's guarding. They think a professor named Snape is trying to steal it, so they try to head him off. They almost die like 3 times in the process. Harry gets to the end, and it's the other professor named Quirrell who let Voldemort live inside him, which is gross. Harry almost dies again, but he defeats Voldemort and Quirrell, and then realizes that Voldemort is basically out to get him, and then school's out for summer. Cool. This was a weird one to write. There's so much character and plot development in the first movie that it is really hard to just like explain just the plot. Like, that's it for the magical recap, but there's so much more to the movie. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. Even if you're an adult and you happen to find this, adult in the internets, yeah, you watch Harry Potter. I promise you it's not as nerdy as you think it is. Okay, so it might be a little bit nerdy, but who cares, right? Like, it's such a good film series, who gives a shit if it's nerdy? I clearly don't. I made a whole room in my house just dedicated to Harry Potter. So, magical moments. I had, of course, several. I mean, I did it on my phone this time. Normally I have my laptop out and I'm like typing notes away, but I didn't really feel like that was necessary this time, only because I've seen this movie so many times that I could probably have written my magical moments and enchanting efforts without even having watched the movie this go round. But it's just a different movie experience when you're trying to write some notes and really think about the magical moments, how it made me feel when I first watched the movie, how it makes me feel now. So one thing that hit me when I'm looking at the movie in the very beginning, mostly when Harry's like 11, so when you first like see him in the cupboard under the stairs and you are introduced to the Dursleys. The casting in this movie is amazing. The Dursleys especially are exactly how I pictured them when I read the books as a kid. The way that they acted, their mannerisms, the way that they looked, like that was incredible. And then you get to Ron, Rupert Grint as Ron Weasley, I think is fantastic. Daniel Radcliffe as Harry Potter, and Emma Watson as Hermione Granger. Her personality, I think, is great. Her hair, though, wasn't exactly what I pictured it to be, and I think that's a lot of people's interpretation of her character. Draco, I thought Tom Felton was perfect for that role. Like, everybody acted and really embodied the character in the most perfect ways. They brought a little bit of themselves into the character, which I thought made it unique. And then also they just, for kid actors, of course, they had a lot to learn and a lot to grow into. But I thought that they did a really good job. Like, most kid actor movies are not that good. Where Harry Potter, I think, is great as far as the casting and the acting goes. The other magical moment that I wrote kind of retrospectively after that was Hagrid just crying when he drops Harry off at the Dursleys' house. I think just sets the whole tone for the movie. Just, one, it just brings you into the emotion of where they are and how they got into this moment. And then as the films go on, like, you feel it even more. But Hagrid is such a softie for his size. And so I thought him, like, crying a little bit at the beginning was just a magical moment for me, because I just really enjoyed seeing him so tender-hearted. The next magical moment, and before I go further, there are so many magical moments that I focused on the big ones. Like the ones that really stood out to me, or that literally gave me like a physical reaction to how excited or how much that scene meant to me. So it's not like I can't go scene by scene of everything that I loved about the movie, because we would be here for hours. I'm gonna stick with kind of the really, really big moments. So then the next really big moment for me was Harry and Hagrid stepping into Diagon Alley for the very first time is one of the most immersive experiences in cinema that I can think of. Especially having been a child reading the books, having this picture of what Diagon Alley is, and then seeing it brought to life on screen and really feeling like you're entering into this wizarding world with Harry for the first time is such a magical moment. Like, it really made me, that's what made me want to be like a wizard when I was a kid. I was like, I want to go to all these shops and like buy all these crazy things and walk around in some robes like this is all normal. Like, that to me was such a beautiful experience. And then, side note, to be able to experience that in the wizarding world at Universal Studios, I thought I was gonna shit my pants. Like, it was just that good of an experience, and just how much detail they put into the parks is exactly how I felt watching the movie. And then it was like, oh my god, I'm in it. Like, I'm here. I've made it. I can die now. I'm happy. So Diagon Alley, huge magical moment for me. And then, of course, it goes without saying that the next huge magical moment for me is when Harry and the other first years are... The Hogwarts Express experience is a magical moment, but to me, them kind of rowing up on the Hogwarts castle in the boats is another one of those like Diagon Alley level moments. Like, being able to see what we had been picturing in our minds for so long of what this castle looked like, and what it would be like to show up to a place that feels more like home immediately than anything that Harry had experienced before. And just like being able to feel the excitement and just the readiness to go ahead and get in there and start learning and like be a part of this family and feel like he fits in. Like, there's something about that that's just classic. Like, everybody can relate to feeling like they're home and feeling like they're accepted in some form or fashion, whether it has happened or the longing of that feeling. And then, of course, there's so many magical moments after that. Just their introduction to Draco Malfoy, the sorting ceremony is great. But to me, the next really big magical moment is when they take their first potions class. Professor Snape just like barges on in and starts his monologue about putting a stopper in death, and like calls out Harry, and just like the hairs on my neck stand up. Because like, one, I was the kid that hated being called on in class, especially if I didn't know what was happening. But also, I was like, Harry's just taking some notes. He could have just said that, but Harry's probably already too stubborn to say anything at this point. But one, like, Alan Rickman is a legend. So watching him as Snape is, again, going back to the casting, is just perfect. There's already so much magic that we've been introduced to up until this point in the film. But this is the first time that we're really being told how much power you as a young wizard are gonna have by learning potions. Like, how much control you can or can't have based on what you learn here, and how much you pay attention, and how much responsibility you have. So one, it's just the character of Snape, who I was really excited about. And then just the actual message and watching him say it and how stoic he is, and like, I'm just like thrown into it. I'm like, yes, sign me up for potions class. Like, I'm ready for it. Okay, so the next big magical moment, of course, comes after the first broom lesson, with Draco throwing Neville's Remember All, and McGonagall seeing the whole thing and introducing Harry to Oliver Wood. Let me tell you something. My friend Allison and I, when we were kids, were obsessed with Oliver Wood. We thought he was like so smooth, like we thought he was so handsome. Like, it was ridiculous how much we loved him. even now, watching the movies back, every time I see him on screen, I just think about how much we would talk about him and like the crushes that we had on him. And of course, we have no girl crushes on any of the main characters. It's a character that's in the movie for all of about 5 minutes total, and then barely keeps going as a character in the rest of the films. So that to me is just a magical moment personally, because it's very nostalgic of like my friend and I who were obsessed with Harry Potter growing up, and how I still remember that. I would say the next big magical moment for me, these are now kind of things that made me laugh or just made me feel really good about the film, was when like Harry and Ron have to stay behind for Christmas because of obvious reasons for Harry, and then Ron's parents abandon him for Christmas, is when Harry wakes up and he wakes up to Christmas presents and he's like, oh my god, I got presents, and that just breaks my heart anyway. But he gets the invisibility cloak, and the card says, or he's telling Ron what the card says is like, there was no name, all it says is use it well. And immediately, like, it's just a jump cut to him walking around in the restricted section of the library with the cloak on and a lantern, and I'm like, use it well, bam, do something naughty. Like, I was just laughing. I was just in my head, and if you know the rest of the story, I'm like, oh my god, you are your father's son. Like, you're just naturally naughty. Another magical moment for me, when they're trying to figure out like what Fluffy is hiding, like all the puzzle pieces are being put together by Hermione. The devil's snare, she knows how to get out of it. Like she kind of is the integral piece of the puzzle when it comes to Harry trying to figure out what to do next. And for me, as a young girl who had crazy hair, only really cared about getting good grades in school, never did anything bad, I really admired Hermione, and she had been one of my favorite characters throughout all the books that I had read up until watching the film. I'm just so incredibly thankful to J.K. Rowling for creating a female character that I can look up to, and that isn't always the one saying, oh no, what are we gonna do? Because that's kind of a joke with a lot of films and TV shows. Like, women are always the ones that say, oh no, what are we gonna do? Kind of like a cartoon. And then it's the men that figure it out and come up with the plan. Whereas in Harry Potter, it's literally the opposite. Like, Ron at least twice says, oh no, what do we do now? Or what are we gonna do? And Hermione's like, hold my robes, I got this. Like, she just jumps into action. So for me, it's hard to pick a particular magical moment that stands out, other than when she, of course, saves Harry from the jinxed broom. Like, it's her idea to start the fire. She saves Ron and Harry from the devil's snare. She has this big speech. Big speech is an exaggeration, but she tells Harry, like, books and cleverness, like, great qualities, sure, but they're not as important as being brave and having friends and being loyal. And she's just so incredibly smart for somebody her age. So I really needed her as a character growing up, and I was glad to have her. And then, of course, the next huge magical moment for me was at the end. Like, Harry, Ron, and Hermione save the day. They're at the last feast. Dumbledore's giving away all the points that puts Gryffindor back in first place. When he's giving out points to, like, Harry, Ron, Hermione, he's giving them like 50 points. And then he gives Neville 10 points for standing up to his friends. And just the look on his face, he's so incredibly, like, taken aback, but, like, proud of himself at the same time. So I just thought that was super cute. Other than the entire movie being a magical moment, I do have a few enchanting efforts that just kind of came to mind. Starting with when the Dursleys and Harry go to the zoo and there's a bunch of kids coming out in like those school uniforms. Every time I watch this movie, I'm like, okay, so they're on a school field trip. Is it not a school day? So why are Harry and Dudley not in school? Is it a weekend? Is it a school day? Like, what is it? Like, where are we in this story? I don't know why that bothers me every single time I watch this movie. The next big thing that I have a lot of questions about, and I've asked this multiple times to other people, and of course, like, the easy answer is magic, but on everybody's school list, they have to buy robes, like school robes. Everybody just gets the generic Hogwarts stuff, right? Then they get to school and then they're sorted, and then all of a sudden they have all of the Gryffindor things that they need. How do they get the house-specific uniforms that they need if they didn't know what their house was before they got to school? Like, did they just magically change all of their robes that they got? I feel like we're entering dangerous territory to say just, oh, like they just did their magic and like updated their wardrobe. Like, okay, cool, that's an easy answer, but I don't know. It's like an enchanting effort. I mean, the movie came out in 2001, so we don't necessarily have all of the wonderful technology that we do now. But technology has already come a long way at this point in time when the movie is coming out. The graphics in the movie are fine. The chocolate frog is cute, fluffy, okay, believable. I'm not expecting it to be like the eighth wonder of the world. I mean, it is a three-headed dog that they're having to create out of thin air. But any kind of CGI that they're doing that involves people is terrible. It's so bad. Like, you think that that would be the easiest thing for them to do. Specifically, I'm thinking about Neville's broom goes haywire in the flying class and he gets stuck on the little statue and then drops like a couple times till he hits the ground. If you really watch that scene and watch him, it's just horrible. Like, it's obviously fake. Okay, I get it. Like, you can't actually drop an 11-year-old boy from the top of a tower. There are probably better ways for you to do that, to not make it look so much like a video game. And then the Quidditch game, if they're zoomed in on somebody's face and they're not, like, they're flying, but they're not actually doing anything, then they're just using the real actors. But if they are scoring or like flying around, or there's something crazy happening with the quaffle or the bludgers, then they use like CGI people, and those people look like the worst video game ever played. It's awful how bad these graphics are. Sorry, I've got like a cat hair in my eyelash now. Like, it's just comical at this point, and like, I don't know, I can't really tell you much else about that part. Another big enchanting effort, or something that just kind of like I have a question about, and I might have my own answer because I thought about it a little bit more after I wrote it down and after the movie was over. When Harry is in the dungeon, I'm guessing, or the corridor, or wherever Quirrell and the Mirror of Erised are, when they get to the point where like Voldemort's just kill him, Quirrell comes up and like grabs Harry by the throat and starts choking him out, right? Like, skin to skin contact, death is en route. But then Harry touches his hand with his, and that's when he starts burning, and then puts his hands on Quirrell's face, and then like he dies, which, thanks for making an 11-year-old kid a murderer already. Why is it that Quirrell only felt the burning sensation when Harry touched him, but not in the reverse? Like, when Quirrell literally has skin-to-skin contact on his neck with his hand, like, why didn't that have the same effect? Is it because Harry is not reaching out and touching him? Is it only Harry's hands that have this weird magical power? That is what I really just need to understand. Like, I know that Dumbledore says, he says something along the lines of like, your mother put that love into you, and the magic of love is stronger than anything else. So when you reached out and touched Quirrell, like he couldn't take it, basically. So he's basically answering the question of like, you have to reach out and touch, but I don't know. I'm maybe just shooting in the dark here. Hi, boy. Come on. There was a little bump accident. A little bumpy boy. This is Felix, named after Felix Felicis, which we'll get to in another film, right? You cute boy. Very cute boy. And then the last enchanting effort that I have is really at the end when Dumbledore's just giving out like 50 points to everybody. One, I think it's annoying that Neville only gets 10 points for standing up to his friends, but also Hermione gets 50 points basically for saving lives, and then Ron gets 50 points for playing the best game of chess the school has ever seen. Like, that's just fucked up. Like, Hermione earned that 50 points. Ron, okay. So, for my very magical person, of course, I'm going with Hermione Granger. Just first movie off the bat, she's the reason why we're getting through these tough times. She's digging in the library, finding the answers to all the questions. Her photographic memory is saving the day once again. And while she's annoying, she is a integral part of just how we get through the film and how she introduces us to other characters, and just I also see her in myself. So for me personally, she's my very magical person. So that's it. Can't really rank this one because it's the only one on the list so far, but if you like these movies, or this movie rather, and you have any thoughts about it, absolutely add those to the comments below, and we'll talk about these more. Definitely want to keep this going with the magical movie review of the Harry Potter films, or really the Wizarding World films, because we'll be doing Fantastic Beasts as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more of these videos. Tell your friends. Follow me on Instagram at MagicXMolly, and I'll see you guys around next time. Have a magical Monday.